Hey everyone! Not long ago, I opened my own open source library of Houdini digital assets. Today, I will showcase the Extrude Subdivision HDA from that library. This tool allows you to create highly detailed extrude shapes from simple polygons. You can download it from my GitHub page. I link it in the description. So let's start from a simple example. I'll put an extrude subdivision node connected to a box, and it would extrude it recursively. On the first iteration, it's just a basic poly extrude, but on the second iteration, it takes all the polygons from the previous extrusion and extrudes them forward, and so on and so forth to get a really high resolution. Now, this is unstable. Polygons in later stages of the extrusion start to intersect with one another. So we have the distance decay parameter to reduce the amount of distance polygons are pushed if they are created on later iterations. Also, we have the animate attribute, which animates the whole extrusion method. And the idea of this tool is to generate those subdivision shapes. We can generate a lot of eye candy motion graphics. For example, this corner is actually very, very interesting to render. Because this is a procedural approach, we can use any model. So I'll use a platonic solid and I'll input it instead. And you can see we get a really nice shape. And we can use a dodecahedron or a octahedron or whatever. It's just a really neat way to generate those patterns and animate them. Now, it has a lot more than that. Another example would be to take this plane. I cut it a little bit with polysplit and a knife, and we get these 4 primitives. And the extrusion would copy the shape of those primitives and create this unique shape from them. Here, I'll animate it a little bit more, and you can see I can also animate the knife, and maybe I want to cut it here instead. So I get a different shape. Again, very interesting and detailed. So another thing we can do is we can use a falloff attribute to mask the extrusion. So right now you can see all the polygons are extruded evenly, and I'll use distance from geometry and the box to create a falloff attribute. Here, I'll name it falloff. Maybe I'll raise the radius a little bit. And now you can see that it's only applied in the areas of the falloff. And I can animate this box, maybe from the left to the right. And we get this neat animation of the extrusions. Because the tool is built with Vex, it's point-based deformation. And we can access actually the subdivided geometry by double-clicking it. Here we can create a more accurate falloff. And so I'll copy this distance from geometry. I'll place it here. And now I'm creating falloff attributes on the point level of the subdivided geometry. And this would result in a more accurate deformation of the extrusion. Another way to approach it is not to create a falloff with distance from geometry, but to actually vex the falloff. So here, I'm diving into the Extrude Subdivision node, and I wrote a little bit of vex here, which generates this type of falloff. It's signing the distance from the origin and offsetting it a little bit. And this type of falloff generates really, really nice and neat animations. And so it helps you really discover how this extrusion subdivision behaves. And just for another example, I took here a tube and I did the same thing on it, and it generates this crazy result, which I'm absolutely in love with. And so there are many ways to deform the extrude subdivision. There are some other examples I want to show you. I created here this primitive shape with a platonic solid and a circle. I applied the same vex falloff to it. I'll dive in just so you can see. This is the falloff attribute, and it generates this. I like to think of it as discovering how a certain extrusion field looks like. And just for the funsies, I also did it on a pig head, reduced it a little bit and applied the extrusion. Again, here, I took the distance from a sphere and signed it again with the same vex function. And it results in this pretty big head. And so this is the extrude subdivision node. It just helps me discover this world of extrude subdivision, tech and art, motion graphics. Don't forget that you can download this HDA from GitHub for free. Link in the description. I opened the Discord server, so if any of you want to ask questions or just talk about Houdini, come. I'm alone here. I'm planning to share more content in the future, so you're welcome to subscribe and join the ride.